Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of MrKent.com, and I got to stop here and give my sweetheart a kiss as we
Goodbye.
leave.
Goodbye. Be careful.
Okay,
I'm filling up the garbage can.
I see that.
Okay.
All right, I'm off on my Rad Mini e-bike with my DJI Mini 2 drone. We're going to go film a construction site that I filmed 1 week prior to this. And we're going to take a look at the huge difference between what it looked like then and what it looks like now. And I think you'll probably be very surprised. So anyway, and then while we're going, or while we're watching the video, I'll also tell you a flying story, a nighttime flying story. So we'll get started on that. Now, in the corner here, you can see there's two aircraft instruments. The one on the left is an altimeter, and the one on the right is a clock. And notice the very bottom digits on each one. The altimeter has a 5 because it's halfway all the way around, and the clock has a 6 because it's halfway all the way around. Sometimes pilots have made the mistake of looking at their altimeter and thinking of it as a clock. And you say, how can a pilot do something stupid like that? Well, I did it. And I think the reason I did it, as well as other pilots, is either too tired to fly, or your mind is on the clock trying to get somewhere. Who knows why? But I did make that mistake, and it could have cost me and my pastor our lives. So that's what our nighttime flying story is about in this video. And so what happened? Well, let's see. First of all, we're gonna take off the DJI Mini 2, and we're going to start looking at what's been changed since the last time we were here. And so, time to take off. And here we go. Now, as we come up, you can see there's a road grader, and or a scraper they call them, and he's putting together the roads that run up and or the streets that run up and down the complex here. And so, and also you'll notice that they've got you will notice anyway as we get a little higher, they've got the plat plans all laid out. Now they don't have it all done yet, but in this view last week it was crawling with earth movers. And so it's changed a lot, because now they're using, I think they might have an earth mover here and there, but they're using the scraper, or the road grader, as I always called it. So let's get back to the story. So what happened was my pastor asked me if I could fly from Pasco, Washington, where we lived, to Lewiston, Idaho, and because he had an evening preaching engagement, and so I said, sure, I'm glad to do that. So we flew over there in the afternoon, and then he did his preaching, and then it was after dark when we left, and so I took off from the Lewiston airport, and I had to climb up to 5,000 feet in order to cross the northern end of the Blue Mountains. And so, because if you go any lower, you run the risk of running into the mountain. Now remember, this is a night flight. You can't see anything in front of you. And so I climbed, and I guess I really must have been tired, like I've heard other pilots say. But regardless, as I climbed, I was thinking clock when I looked at my altimeter. Now, if I'd have been concentrating on the altimeter, I would have climbed until the hand on the altimeter got down to 5,000 feet at the very bottom. But I was thinking clock, and so as I was raising, oh, by the way, there's last week. This is just a quick shot of there was no streets, no plat plans. It was nothing but just dirt, and the earth movers were moving it around, and so that's all we had last week. So anyway, and by the way, as we come around here, you're going to see all of the earth movers have been parked, and because they don't need them, and so I'm thinking maybe their drivers are home looking at employment listings or something. Just kidding. So anyway, as I climbed, I got up to what I thought was 5,000 feet, because it's the next to the, it's the number just to the right of the 6,000 feet on the clock. I was thinking clock, and so I came up to that number and wasn't looking at the digits carefully, and that's what happens when you fly enough that you get lazy. So I wasn't looking at the digits carefully, and so we were actually flying on the altimeter. The digit just before the 5 at the bottom is a 4. So we were flying at 4,000 feet. I'm looking out here, and I'll show you. This is about where I live, which as the drone flies, that's less than a mile away. So anyway, these houses are moving in real close. So anyway, we flew across the mountains, and I know we must have been just skimming the treetops, because we should have been at 5,000 feet, and we weren't. And so I don't know how we made it, but we made it. And it wasn't until and by the way, my pastor was a pilot, and he hadn't flown that route before, so he didn't know we were too low. So anyway, as I came across the mountains and got into farmland, I looked down, and boy, the lights were really close. And then I looked with intelligence, I looked at the altimeter, and we were not at 5,000 feet. We were at 4,000 feet. So anyway, it's a common mistake. It's not common, but I've heard other pilots say they've made the same mistake. So anyway, we've got some time, so let me, I don't know if you want to hear a poem that I've written or not. I've got a book of poetry. This is one of the poems out of that. And it's called How Did I Live Before Google? So here we go. How did I live before Google? How did I know what to do? When somebody asked me a question, I just said, I don't have a clue. It cost my folks lots of money for those cyclopedia books, but I never liked trying to read them for all the time that it took. Now my wife on her own little iPad is a genius with knowledge to spare. When she needs to look up an answer, she won't even get out of her chair. I remember our trip to Montana. We didn't want to get lost. Google printed a map how to get there and told us how much it would cost. As long as I carried my iPhone, I could Google the places to stay. Our trip to Montana is over, where we threw all our road maps away. I decided to take up the fiddle. I wanted to learn it so bad. But lessons were pretty expensive. They cost more than I had. One day I flipped open my laptop and Googled the word violin. Now I'm my own virtuoso as I balance it under my chin. At times I'm a little bit leery of 4G and 5G and Wi-Fi. How will my brain ever function if I can't find a signal nearby? I'll need to get up from my sofa and look for the answer alone, or do like we did in the old days and call the library folks on the phone. So anyway, there's a poem, there's a flying story, and I hope I didn't bore you to death. Some folks don't like poetry. But I want to thank you for watching my videos, and God bless.